Welcome back to the build, everybody. Behind us, you see all of the ventilation equipment that is going to be installed in this house. And this is Phil Rivas from Fantech. He is the expert on all of these machines, and we're gonna get a tour from him in just a moment. Thank you very much for making the trip.
Hello, Corbett.
So this is really cool because, first of all, we're doing some stuff that's more extreme than you may have seen before. But it's not so extreme that you're not gonna have to do this on your next new house, because all houses are being built more airtight.
They are.
We know now that this house is more than passive house airtight, and hi, I've never built a house before this size. The tiny lab was good practice, but this is actually tighter than we built that. So we're gonna have to be very, very careful about how we do all of this air purifying, air filtering, air exchange, exhaust ventilation, all this stuff that's gonna be explained behind us. So Phil, when we talk about water, if you say, hey, do you want a bottle of water? And people say, oh my gosh, it's got BPA in the plastic, or it's not organic, or whatever it is. Can you kind of like talk a little bit about how much we're drinking and how much we're breathing every day?
We drink probably 8 glasses of water a day. That's a lot of time and energy and cost thinking about, those 8 glasses of water a day intake. Plus at home we do water softeners and water filtration and everything around that, around the water. But when you actually look at how many bottles of air you would intake a day, that's quite a bit more.
So we've got exhaust ventilation from this end of the building all the way through purification and filtration, through air exchange and whole house ventilation, to some really sophisticated pressure balancing stuff. So we're going to take you in order of sophistication and through the journey of things you may have seen before to things you may have never seen before. This is going to be really interesting. So let's dig in. First in line, Radon Fan. Lots of people have these. This one's special.
So Fantech came up with the inline fan technology in 1974. So this is the first of its kind EC Radon Fan. EC stands for electronically commutated. So essentially it's a DC motor, speed controlled through a little chip.
Which basically means it's infinitely variable, the speed.
Yes.
You can dial it to whatever you want. There's not 3 speeds or 1 speed. You turn it on, you turn it off. That's the best way to do it.
Absolutely. So as many reasons why EC is good on the power saving side, it's also good on the actual working point of the job.
The goal is to get radon out. And this fan also is going to help to dry the footing and the bottom of the foundation wall. So we're actually going to be able to control some temperatures in there because we won't have evaporation lowering the temperature of that little corner where you get mildew and mold forming in a crawl space.
It's not the primary primary reason, but yes, it is a good byproduct.
So for health, but also for some very interesting secondary performance stuff. Now we're going to have a test run on this with Hamid from Fantech in another video, so stay tuned for that. But no matter what the test shows we need to dial this to, we're going to be able to use this fan to do that.
Yes.
Next, kitchen exhaust. If there is one thing that is critical to have in every house, period, it is kitchen exhaust. This is a little bit more fancy than what most people are going to be able to have, and we have a very simple version in the tiny lab. I'm excited about this though, right? So first off, this is the fan. How exactly does this work, Phil?
So this mounts on the outside of the house. So the whole point with some of the Fantech remote mount exhaust fans is that we put the noise outside, right? And in between that, we have a nice little muffler here that actually cuts down some of the ducted noise.
You said nice and little, and
to
me, it's super sexy.
Yeah.
Not very little, but very, very cool.
Yeah. When you're dampening sound, you actually need some space for that air to travel through and actually kill the decibels.
Exactly. And then this doesn't actually have any fan components inside it at all.
No, it does not.
This is called a liner.
This is a hood liner, yeah. So basically it's a passive hood that you're going to build cabinetry around, make that look very nice and seamless. And you'll control your lights and the actual fan from here remotely. Again, this will be outside and to minimize the noise.
I like that because it's easy to service. I find that the grease trap and all, like, the other hood that we've got, that's actually embedded in there, you're never going to get in there and service that fan. So if the fan goes bad, probably just going to pull the whole.
Exactly.
And as far as the fan speeds go, I find that if I'm in somebody's house and they've got a great big range hood and it's got 3 speeds on it, I just feel like, why? This blows 600 CFM. The blower door test on this house is 300, and that's the whole house. We're only going to be using this on the living space, which is going to be less than that. So it's possible that we could run 3 blower door tests at the same time with this fan running on high. We're not going to want to do that. And no matter what level we're running at, we're going to want to address the pressure thing, which is something that we are going to address in this tour. We'll get to that later. What's interesting to me about this is that the best shape for a hood to be is bowl shaped. So if you can make it into a box or a bowl, we're going to be able to build one that actually captures the fumes from cooking as well as we want it to. We'll see the silencer again as we move down this.
Yes.
Let's talk about dryer boosters.
Okay.
The dryer is an exhaust fan that most people don't think of. It's
Yes.
going to run about, 150 CFM? So that, again, blower test on this house, 300. So 150 is something that we're going to want to look at pressure-wise, which we will be able to do.
Yeah.
This is the booster fan, which is only really needed if we're doing what with our dryer?
So if your duct run is longer than, say, 35 feet, and every 90-degree elbow subtracts 5 feet, by the way, from your calculation.
Right.
So basically, if that air is going to slow down, and for dryer boosting, so things like kitchen exhaust and dryer exhaust, it's industrial exhaust, it's process exhaust, is how we call it in the commercial world, okay? So you actually have particulate moving through the air. That is a process exhaust. You want to keep that particulate moving at 1,200 feet per minute. That's what it takes to keep dryer lint elevated and actually passing through the duct, not collecting the duct, because fire.
Right.
Your dryer, lint trap doesn't catch everything. You want to make sure that stays elevated and gets on out of the way.
And you have a solution for that too.
We do.
Which is?
We do, yeah. So this is an auxiliary lint trap. It's very simple design. Basically, that goes in the wall, gets permanently mounted, and you take this out, tap it off, just like you would clean the regular dryer lint trap, and that catches what's left. So you don't have to go out and constantly clean that outside.
So we wouldn't have, hopefully, as much of a problem with lint collecting on the inside, which is probably over the long term, we're still going to need to clean it at some point because it's hot and moist.
We've got these clean outs here. Yeah, I mean, and so the with the backward curved impellers in this, it doesn't really develop a lot of lint on it, but you still could get some. So we want to make sure, just for safety's sake, belt and suspenders, we're going to go ahead and provide a clean out.
Gotcha. And I see a pressure tap here, so when it senses that the pressure changes inside of the dryer duct.
As soon as your dryer comes on, it's going to pressurize the duct to some extent, right? This senses that, turns on immediately, and energizes the air going out.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So now we're done with exhaust, which is funny because we haven't talked about bath exhaust yet, but again, we're doing things a little bit differently here. We're going to get to that in just a second. Next, filtration. What we want to do here is take out all of the particles that are going to always be bad for people. Particles are bad for people to breathe, period. So we're going to take those out within the house by filtering the air as it goes through. This has a blower built into it, right?
Yeah, 240 CFM fan built in, so it's fan powered. And what it's designed to do is actually, traditional systems will use either a HEPA or a MERV 13 filter on the return duct. The problem with those is now that's blocking the entire airflow. So if that gets really clogged and you have a nice, really humid summer, then you're not going to get enough airflow across your coil.
The three stages that we're going to get into here is pre-filter. This is your grandmother's filter.
Yes.
Then we've got a sexy black thing. What is this?
Yeah, so that is your activated carbon filter. So activated carbon kills smells.
Right, so it's going to grab VOCs.
Yeah, exactly.
And we wash this?
You do not wash it. This is replaceable. So the pre-filter and the activated carbon filter. The thing about activated carbon, once it absorbs that smell, it becomes pretty much inert and you can't do anything with it anymore. So you dispose of that or recycle it. Then you've got your 2-year HEPA filter. So by the time we filter out the big stuff with this, whatever's left gets caught in that HEPA filter, and that's where you get down to the 99.97%. 0.3 microns is basically where we're at.
Which is the same as 300 nanometers. And that's it probably is going to grab stuff that's smaller than that too, but they don't measure for that. That's not what HEPA standard does. So this is the kind of filtration that I think everybody should be pursuing. It is not active air purification. If we had a machine in here that destroyed or ate molecules or changed the structure of VOCs and things like that, that to us says danger. Do not put that in your house because we don't want to fuel chemistry. When you rip molecules apart, you're making new things. This is a passive filtration thing. The only electronic in here is the fan. So we're not using ozone, God forbid. We're not using even electrostatic stuff to try and ionize anything. This is just grabbing bad things from the air and then storing them so that we can throw them away later, which is what we really are all about. So if you watch the Home Chem playlist, if you have not seen that, please do. That's why we're so freakish about that. Be very careful about the kind of machinery you put in your home to purify the air because chemistry is has side effects.
Yes.
This is going to be studio space and main house space, and you'll see that there are two systems on the next in line too, because we've got two totally different houses basically that are touching each other. Now let's talk about whole home ventilation. The cheapest way to do this that a lot of builders are opting for is just running a bath fan 24 hours a day.
Sure.
Right, and that depressurizes the house, brings in fresh air from all the gaps and cracks. The problem here is that outdoor air and fresh air are not necessarily the same thing, because as Phil pointed out, it can be much more polluted indoors, but it can also be much more polluted outdoors. If you live in California, you know that wildfires are going on outside. You do not want to have that outdoor air coming in. So if you depend on your house to be the filter, then you're going to definitely have some smoky smell in the house. This is a much better way to do it. We have filtered air coming in from outside.
Right.
We have it passing through the core that's for the tuning, the performance battery basically. All the air that's going to be exiting the house is going to go this way across this, and all the air coming in is going to be going this way, and we're going to transfer not just the temperature, the heat energy, but also the humidity, which is one of the things that I like. We've tested this across the country with the Tiny Lab, and I found, because we did the interchangeable core thing with that system, and we used an HRV to start out with, and it was not good in any climate zone that we went to. And so we switched over to the ERV. I have had no problems, and I'm an ERV person now, because I feel like just having that buffer of both the temperature and the humidity, I find is just safe in no matter what kind of weather.
Yeah, again, in very low humidity climates, say like Alaska, HRV all the way, because you're really not dealing with any humidity to deal with. And the upside of that is the HRV cores are a little bit cheaper. Plastic transfers faster at a milder temperature, but aluminum actually transfers better at a much lower temperature.
Cool. We've got two ports that go inside, one taking stale air out, one bringing fresh air to. Two ports that go outside, one taking that stale air out again after it went through the core, and one bringing that outdoor air that we hope is fresh, but we're going to make fresher inside this box.
Right. So you could do the just exhaust only, or you could do a supply only. In some areas in Texas, what they're doing is they're just taking, they've got their exhaust fans going, regular bath fans, and they just take one little supply fan and shove air in just all the time, 150 CFM or something like that. But that's not balanced, it's not tuned. We want that balance of fresh air and the stale air leaving at the same rate, so you don't depressurize the home. Or even some cases you actually can imbalance the unit to positively pressurize just a little bit. A little bit of positive pressure is okay, because then it keeps things out.
So these are going to be controlled by a separate controller from the thermostat. And that's important because we have a totally different duct system from the heating and cooling system. So we've got two different systems. So we've got pressure ports here. This is how we're going to commission this thing. With this commissioning kit, all we're doing is measuring the pressures, and the pressure tells you what the flow is, right? So that this machine now will be able to tune to whatever it is. And is this a infinitely variable or a 3-speed?
You'll have 3 speeds, because typically when you're running the ERV, it's going to be either low for minimal ventilation rates, medium for your activity comes up a little bit in the house, or high when, say, you have a dinner party and you've got a lot of guests over.
And so these all at max would run about 200 CFM.
Correct.
Both of these. There will be one in the studio space, which is only 800 and something square feet, but we need that 200 because if we're going to have a dance party where everybody's sweating and moving and sloughing off their skin flakes all over our house, it's going to be in that room. So we want to have the 200 there. And here, we're not just going to be taking stale air out of the house at one place and then supplying fresh air to the house in one place. That's why we've got all of these different fittings here. So what's the difference between the exhaust vents and the supply vents?
Okay, so the exhaust, it's all about how you want the air to travel into the duct and efficiency of air coming in or going out. So this actually is designed for the air to come in, and you can actually dial this down.
Infinitely variable.
Yeah, there you go. So now we're tuning this as well. For the supply side, they have what's called the Quanda effect, where you want the air to hug the surface and then drop into the space. So what that does, it gives a chance to mix in.
So you don't have a little pool of fresh air over there where the vent is.
Exactly. You want it to mix in as it comes in. So that's what this is. And again, this dials up, dials down.
We're going to have some flows in this case. We're going to be putting in cabinets or in the litter box cabinet. There will be one of these, and I want that to just be maybe 1 or 3 CFM. All I want is for air to be moving in this direction, not in that direction. So if I'm going to get that tiny bit of air coming out, that's great. If I'm delivering air and I'm going to try and deliver no less than, 15, 30 CFM because we're delivering that mostly to spaces where you're spending the most time, which are bedrooms, maybe living room. Those are two kind of different things. So you'll see that we have more exhaust ports than we do supply ports, and that's because we're going to be trying to suck just to induce some little pressure imbalances around the house to try and get air to go from something that is potentially yucky directly to outside and not to our face. And as the cherry on top, the make-up air system that is going to make sure that we have balanced pressures in the house. As I mentioned, blower door test, 300 in here. Kitchen hood can pull 600 CFM. We have here a full system that took up an entire pallet. This is not a joke. So yes, we're going to get through all these components, but we've got a system that is going to be able to deliver however much air we need it to. This is another one of those infinitely variable EC motors. We have dampers, we have filtration, we have silencers, we have a preheater. So first off, Phil, this is the box that our brain is going to live in, right?
Yes. So that's where the FMAC, the Fantech Makeup Air Control, comes in.
And there's two ways to run this, as I understand it. You can either hook this up to sense an amperage draw from the kitchen hood.
Yes.
Or set up a whole house pressure sensor that's going to be able to kick it on when the pressure in the house goes down by something that totally has nothing to do with the kitchen, like a dryer, for example.
Okay, so normal houses aren't built beyond passive house tightness, right? So you're going above and beyond. So normally we wouldn't recommend that. We want to just do the amp draw off of the specific kitchen hood you're using, right? And this can be used with any kitchen hood, by the way. This isn't specific to Fantech products. You can use it on any. Basically, it's only measuring the amp draw at the high speed and the low speed, and then we extrapolate in between. The FMAC does the rest, right? But for your case, we can do it a little bit differently and use actually a commercial style differential pressure control.
Awesome. So this is an intake fan. So we've got a vent that's going to go outside the house. It's going to have obviously a bird filter to make sure that animals don't come into this gigantic hole that we've got in the wall. We then have a damper that's going to open and close depending on when the device calls for it, right? So when we've either depressurized the house, and this is, as you can see, you can dial this. I can set this to be not all the way open if I wanted to, which I don't have to do because we've got infinite variability on the fan. So anyway, this is basically open, closed, but this is motor controlled.
Other manufacturers actually sell just a passive damper. All they do is open that damper up. The only way for you to actually bring air into a home through a passive solution is depressurize.
Right.
Not what we want to do. The makeup air system is designed so you don't depressurize the home. So in a commercial kitchen, you have an upblast fan pushing out, and you actually have a supply fan, filtered supply fan, pushing air back into the same exact rate, because they realize in that commercial kitchen, when you start backdrafting or depressurizing the space, that leads to a whole host of other problems, not the least of which is backdrafting exhausted, combustion exhaust appliances.
Right. This is the beautiful fan, and this thing is hefty. I like it. Black, my favorite color.
EC, infinitely variable. That guy's the Prio Air EC, Airtight, one-piece construction.
Awesome.
It's vein axial, if that matters
I don't know
at all.
what that means, but that sounds sexy. I like sexy. So after this, we've got filter box.
Yes.
Why is this thing so huge? Let's talk about this.
So the amount of air, what we want to do is we want to limit the static pressure we're putting on the fan. So every time we add a piece of duct or damper or elbows, anything that adds on to the fan, we're actually adding static pressure loads. So as we look at a fan curve, the more static pressure, the less air it's going to deliver.
And so obviously we're going to be testing that, and we have a video on static pressure testing, which this is the same exact thing as in a forced air system.
So what we're trying to do is eliminate the amount of restriction of the static pressure that we're built up on the fan. So the bigger the box, the less restriction we're going to have.
And instead of putting the filter flat, which is how most people see it, air goes right through the filter, we've put it on an angle so we can have more surface area. We've got a wide media filter, and we've got it on an angle, so we've got lots of surface area. And this is an interesting conversation about this high performance stuff. We need either companies who can maintain all of these systems, because you can see we got lots more devices now that could possibly go bad or start getting gummed up or whatever. And also we've got filters that the size of this thing, we're not going to install this in the kitchen cabinet in this case because we don't have up cabinets, so we only have storage in the lower. This is going to go in the crawl space. So we need to have a giant sign. If I'm selling this to a normal person who doesn't know how this house is supposed to work, giant sign that says, you have 3 filters to replace in this house. Every 6 months you need to go look at them.
Yes.
And then have a big red sign on this that says, hey, open this, take a look inside. So we need to make sure that all the maintenance stuff, which is absolutely the homeowner's responsibility, is expressed to them, that they are taught how to do this stuff, because this is going to be brilliant if it's working the way that the manufacturer has designed it to. So once we go through the filter, we're going to go through another silencer. Duct,
Yes.
You call this a damper. I'm going to call it a silencer because it's...
No, it's a silencer.
Right.
It's
Okay,
a silencer.
great.
Yeah.
So very cool, sexy box. You can see that. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's actually... Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do that?
No, actually, that's the best way to test those. Is you actually hold them up to your ear. We do that at trade shows all the time, where we actually hold it up to somebody's ear and let them yell on the other side.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm talking right now. My microphone is not picking up.
And I noticed you had 4-pound mineral wool on the outside of the house for insulation and sound purposes. That is actually what's inside here.
Awesome. Great. So continuity. We have all the
go.
stuff. Now, this is the last piece of this system, and
an
this
option.
is important because if you have a 20-degree day, which is totally known to happen here in Atlanta, if I'm going to bring in fresh air because I'm cooking and it's going to be the same temperatures outside, my wife's feet are going to be cold. And there's one rule in this house. So if we make the woman's feet cold, game over. That's it.
Yeah.
The first thing that's going to happen is we're going to shut off the exhaust hood because it's automatic that this is going to turn on. And now we've started polluting the house. So we need to make sure that this thing heats. This is a 6-kilowatt heater, giant toaster basically, that's going to, again, it's so big because it's supposed to potentially tackle 750 CFM.
Well, and keep in mind too, your normal air handler inside your home is getting multiple passes at that air. Okay, so it's not heating from direct outside one pass. This is one pass. So we only get one chance to heat that air before it hits Grace's toes.
Right, exactly. So it needs to be 70 degrees, or even better, 90 degrees
Well, yeah,
before it hits the
yes, if
toes.
there's like a hairdryer blowing on, that would be great.
And obviously this is going to modulate. That's why we
will
have
modulate.
the heater itself, and which is dwarfed by the size of the microprocessor that's going to control that heater. So
Right.
normally on a day like today when it's 60 degrees outside, maybe not going to turn it at all.
Sure.
Can I program this to do
You
specific
can
things?
hit a set point, and so it's measuring the exit air temperature, and it will modulate for that.
Great.
So
Okay.
yeah, if it's a day you don't need it, it won't even come on. If it's a day that you only need a little bit of it, it will only do what you need.
And just like the point of use water heaters that we've got, it's going to be constantly monitoring that temperature. And if you increase the flow by, let's say we're cooking, just making tea, so it's on low, and then we kick on the dryer, house pressure builds up. It's going to then accelerate the fan, which also then accelerates the heater, and all this stuff is going to track in line. And that is where this performance tuning really comes in handy. To have machines that do this as beautifully as these do.
And you want,
is great.
typically if ventilation's done right, you're not thinking about it. It's doing its job in the background. You don't have to think about, hey, I need to go over and turn this on or turn that, except for point of use products like your kitchen hood where you're going to be right there.
Right.
The ERVs and everything else should work automatically.
But that doesn't mean that somebody didn't think about it deeply. So this conversation between builder and manufacturer has to happen. If this stuff is going to work at all, you have to plan through it exhaustively. And so this is what home diagnosis is all about. That's why we're trying so hard to make sure to show you every single nook and cranny of this build, because this conversation is where this happens. If this doesn't happen, the system absolutely won't work. So thank you for making such beautiful equipment.
Thank you for having us out.
We're going to install these machines, and then of course, as you always see on this channel, we're going to be testing them to prove that they're actually doing the things that they were designed to do. Make sure that you comment, like, subscribe. Tune in next time.